If I have to drink 2-3 L of water to be healthy, how do humans from a few hundred years ago get enough water? We need to remember that 2-3 L of water also includes liquids found in foods. This is why old settlements always grew around a water source. Look at old towns, cities and villages always along the banks of a river or near a lake. If you look at a map of population of ancient Egypt, for example, it's basically a map of the Nile with little deviation. Is this a question of having enough sanitary water, or isn't this about having any sanitary water at all? There were wells, and remember the Romans already had aqueducts. It wasn't modern plumbing for sure, but it wasn't too far off. People probably had a stronger tolerance for bacteria though, just like in many current third world countries. If I have to drink 2-3 L of water to be healthy, you don't. The process of making teas, beers, wine, ciders made it safer than water. People boiled all sorts of things into a drink. Roots, flower heads, leaves, tree bark. Acorn-based drinks were commonplace. Strips of dried meat was boiled into beef tea and the strips hung to dry for next time more liquid was taken in the form of food too. Most people didn't boil veg, pour out the perfectly good, vitamin-infused water, then add it to a plate to knead a drink with it. Lots of meals were cooked in a pot. Drinking broth was common. We call it stock nowadays, but historically it was drunk, great for dunking stale bread. Porridge had liquid. Stewed fruit had more liquid content than grabbing from trees. Pubs, coach houses, etc. had to provide water to travelers, when asked to. Some of those laws in the UK at least still technically exist. Traveling routes for droving moving farm animals around were planned around water provision shelter. You don't 2-3 L thing is a myth, although if it fills you up it could lead to less calories consumed. So good thing to keep in mind, there is such a thing as overhydrating. There has been a trend in recent years to carry around huge jugs, so you could always be hydrated. People even had contests over who could drink the most water and therefore be healthiest. That was overcorrecting for the problem that people weren't paying attention to their body signs and getting enough water. Drink when you are thirsty, your body knows how much water it needs. Did you notice that they were 6 inches shorter and lived 30 years fewer than we do? They, perhaps, weren't healthy. You probably don't need to drink that much water to be healthy. People drank much less water just 40 years ago. Surviving and peak health are different things. You don't have to drink 2-3 L per day in truth, just drink whenever you're thirsty. If you don't know when that is, then every time you think you're hungry, drink a glass of water. Soon you'll learn what the difference between hunger and thirst is. If only evolution was good enough to give our bodies an indication to tell us when we should be drinking. Something like being hungry for food, but only for liquid. Drinking 6-10 liters of booze. You don't have to drink that much water to be healthy, those numbers are essentially just made up and have become marketing tools. If you are healthy, your thirst will be a good guide, but otherwise drink enough water to make your pee pale yellow, but not clear. That's it. And the amount of water you get in food is going to vary quite a lot, so you can never measure exactly how much water you should drink as liquid. Just listen to your body. You still drank from any available water source, even if it wasn't totally clean. People who were perpetually exposed to marginally contaminated water sources were generally more tolerant of the bacteria, and also just had no choice, so were adequately hydrated, but more prone to illness. Like all other animals, we have historically also gotten a lot of our fluid intake from food, which has at least some modicum of filtration involved in their own intake. Basically, we piggyback off of other animals' kidneys. Bear in mind that our modern notion of adequate hydration also assumes clean sources of water. Our bodies can certainly survive, at suboptimal levels, with less hydration. Finally, both booze and tea. Look at a map. Look where Wuvari City is located. 1. You don't have to drink that much. 2. Water existed back then too. It's not a recent invention. You'd be better off posting this question on Rask Historians. It's a curated sub by qualified historians. People on here will be helpful, but it's general advice and we're prone to common misconceptions or conjecture. Look up the history of beer and wine making. Having your drinks have a small amount of alcohol in them does wonders on keeping it safe to drink. Wellness industry overstates all nutritional requirements to drive sales. Water bottles must be a huge global market.